Hey everyone, welcome back to Tan's Top 10 channel. This is going to be the second part in a series of videos I'm doing this month of October, counting down my top 10 favorite movie villains of each decade. I just released the 1980s video just not too long ago, so if you haven't yet, please go check that out. So today's video, I'm counting down my favorite movie villains of the 90s, but it's going to be a very different video because for the first time on this channel, I'm going to not do a top 10, I'm having a top 20 list because there are just way too many good villains in the 90s that I was making my list and I just kept adding villains to it. And I'm like, holy shit, like there's so many good villains in this decade that I had to compromise and I had to make a top 20 list. And I still have quite a few honorable mentions. So the 90s, excellent decade for movie villains. And yeah, so I hope you guys are excited for this video, and let's just jump into the list. So my first honorable mention is going to be Mr. Benedict in Last Action Hero. This is played by Charles Dance, the same guy who played Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones. And he is such an entertaining villain in this. You can tell he's having such a total blast. He's got the eyeball, like with the little smiley face on it, and he like changes his eyeball. I really enjoy him as a villain. And yeah, my next honorable mention is going to be Captain Dudley from LA Confidential. One of the most shocking villain reveals of all time. You don't really, he's the police captain, and you kind of just assume like he's just part of the investigation. And then he has that scene with Kevin Spacey where they're kind of discussing what Kevin Spacey has investigated so far, what he's learned. And then once Kevin Spacey pretty much reveals what he's all learned in this investigation, Captain Dudley just turns around and just shoots him like right in the heart. You're just like, holy shit, that was so shocking. So him being the true villain of the movie, one of the biggest reveals. Another honorable mention is going to be Howard Payne from Speed. A lot of people would probably have this at the top of their list, but I really enjoy him as a villain. His back and forth with Keanu Reeves and just how not really menacing, but like how methodical he is as a villain. You know, he's kind of fucked up with putting a bomb on a bus. He's going to kill a bunch of innocent people. And then you get the fight with him against Keanu Reeves at the end of the movie and the decapitation, like one of the best villain deaths of all time. One of the most entertaining Disney villains of all time is Hades from Hercules. Voiced by James Woods, does an excellent performance in this. You can just tell he's having a ball with this. Just so goddamn entertaining. Really funny as well. My next honorable mention is going to be the Sheriff of Nottingham, played by Alan Rickman in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Alan Rickman is just one of the best actors to play a villain. He just brings so much charisma to his performances. And like a lot of his dialogue, I think, is improvised because he has so many weird lines. And it's such a weird performance, but I love it. And he's a pretty despicable character as well. And my last honorable mention, a lot of people would easily have this guy towards the top of their list probably. But for me, didn't quite make the top 20. And that is Agent Smith from the Matrix, well, Matrix trilogy, apparently. It's been a while since I've seen the Matrix, so maybe I got to rewatch it, and he would maybe move up on the list. But I don't know, I've always kind of had a problem with this villain. He's very good in the first movie. Maybe it's the sequels that kind of just lessen my love for the character. But Hugo Weaving, total badass. You got the iconic look of the suit with the sunglasses. So super menacing, but never been personally one of my favorite villains. Kicking off the list at number 20 is going to be Stu Macher from Scream. I guess you could throw Billy on here as well, Billy Loomis, but I like Stu Macher so much more. First of all, he's played by Matthew Lillard, who does an amazing job in this movie. He is so damn entertaining and over the top in an excellent way. He had so much life to the movie. And then once he is revealed to be the killer, that's when his performance gets like even more weird. He's like, my parents are gonna be so mad at me, and like, what the fuck? So one of the best villain reveals of all time. I love Stu Macher. In at number 19 is going to be Frank Hummel from The Rock, easily my favorite Michael Bay movie, and pretty sympathetic villain. All he wants to do is get money for the families of the fallen soldiers that were in his group. And so he holds hostages at Alcatraz and pretty much wants the government to pay their ransom so he can give this money to the families of the fallen soldiers. So you kind of sympathize with him, but he's also going about it in a completely wrong way. And then towards the end, he does kind of reverse to not being a true villain. He's not actually going to kill all these hostages or send these bombs to San Francisco. So that's why he's a little lower on the list, because he does kind of get redeemed. But an amazing Ed Harris performance, and easily Michael Bay's best villain that he's ever made. Coming in at number 18 is going to be Simon Gruber from Die Hard with a Vengeance. Now, it is nearly impossible, probably impossible, to live up to the standard of Hans Gruber in the original Die Hard. Like, that is one of the best villains of all time. But damn, Jeremy Irons really pulls it off as Hans Gruber's brother, Simon Gruber. And I love the Simon Says aspect of this movie, where he's testing John McClane and Zeus, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and he's like giving them all these puzzles and riddles to go and follow in New York City. I love that aspect of this movie. The only thing I don't like about this character is the ending with him in the helicopter and how he goes out. I kind of wish there was just a little bit better of an ending for that character, but he is easily the second best Die Hard villain. In at number 17 is one of the biggest villain reveals of all time, and that is Kaiser Soze from The Usual Suspects. It even says it on the cover here. Who is Kaiser Soze? That is pretty much what the entire movie is about, is trying to find the identity of who this guy is. Like, who is this piece of shit, evil person? And the movie, towards the middle and a little bit at the end, kind of points you towards Gabriel Byrne being the character of Kaiser Soze. And then right at the end of the movie, within like the last 2 minutes, the movie pulls the rug out from under the audience and some of the characters, and it's like, nope, it was Kevin Spacey all along. He has been narrating this, he's been telling the story to the cops, making it up on the spot about who Kaiser Soze is, and then he gets away at the end. The evil gets away at the end of Usual Suspects. So Kaiser Soze, one of the best villains. In at number 16 is going to be the Penguin from Batman Returns. I'm not going to put Catwoman on this list because I don't think she's a true villain. I know a lot of people do throw on their list, but kind of feel like she's more like an anti-hero in a bit of a way. She kind of teams up with Batman. But the Penguin, played by Danny DeVito, full-on villain, and one of the creepiest character designs of all time. He's like this short, stout, little chubby guy, but then he's got the long penguin nose. And he is weird as fuck. He's always got like black goo dripping from his mouth, and like he bites that guy's nose off. It's so gross. But what an amazing performance. One of the best Batman villains of all time in movie history. And Danny DeVito just knocked this performance out of the park. And I love how dark the movie allows this character to be. Truly despicable, but an amazing performance. In at number 15 is going to be Milo from The Last Boy Scout. First of all, I want to give props to Taylor Negron for his performance in this movie. R.I.P. He was a terrific villain in this movie. And it's so weird because I remember watching Angels in the Outfield, where he kind of plays like a comic relief character. He kind of plays a little schlub guy. And then seeing him in that kid's movie, and then seeing him in this movie where he is one of the most evil pieces of shit ever. It's very weird as a kid. But an amazing performance. He's got the slick backed, greasy hair that's already kind of gross. And then he's just so violent, but he's also like very professional and calm, and except for towards the end when he, starts to lose his shit. But like he kidnaps kids, he shoots innocent people, and then he's got one of the best villain deaths of all time, where he gets in a fight with Bruce Willis at the top of the stadium lights and gets shot by the cops, falls off the balcony right into some helicopter blades, and just gets shredded to pieces. Oh, it's good. It's good. Great villain death. One of the best. In at number 14 is going to be William Stranix from Under Siege. One of Tommy Lee Jones's most entertaining performances. I love him in this movie. He is so over the top in the best way possible. He really makes this movie come to life. Like, him and Gary Busey are so entertaining in this movie as the villains, which, thank God, because you got Steven Seagal as the hero of this movie, who doesn't really have a whole lot of charisma to begin with. So thank God you got great actors like Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey in here. But you can tell he's just having a ball with this movie. And I'm pretty sure this is right around when he might have been right before or after he won his Oscar for The Fugitive. I think it might have been before. But I love him in this movie. And another excellent villain death where he gets the knife stabbed into the top of his head and then slammed into like a computer monitor. Ooh, it's a good death. Coming in at number 13 is going to be Nino Brown from New Jack City. An amazing performance by Wesley Snipes. Probably should have been nominated for an Oscar. This is easily his best performance, I think. He is a crime lord who pretty much starts selling crack to his neighborhood, and he kind of builds up his own crime empire. And then he gets infiltrated by this undercover cop. But goddamn, Wesley Snipes is so good in this movie. He's very menacing, but almost kind of in a way sympathetic as well. I mean, Wesley Snipes' performance really brings you into this character. And yes, he is doing terrible things, but you kind of also like him in a way. The only thing I don't like about this character, that's kind of a reveal in the movie, is that he is the one who killed Ice-T's mom. I didn't really like that turn in the story. I kind of wish it was just like there. It kind of seems almost too coincidental, I'd say. But I mean, what an amazing performance by Wesley Snipes, and yeah. And at number 12 is going to be Dracula from Bram Stoker's Dracula. One of the best villain performances of all time. Gary Oldman knocks it out of the park in this movie. He is so goddamn good. And I mean, Gary Oldman has tons of amazing performances. This might be my favorite performance of him. Especially, he's got all that makeup on, and then once he goes full Dracula, like all that prosthetic, ooh, it's creepy, but it's amazing. But this is one of the more sympathetic and tragic villains of all time, where at the beginning of the movie, he loses the love of his life and then pretty much gets cursed to become Dracula, this like monster. And although you kind of sympathize with him in a way, he's also killing people and turning them into fucking vampires as well. Like he's got his brides. And all he wants is love, but you also are like, this guy's a monster and he needs to be stopped. And goddamn, I love Dracula. If you haven't seen the movie, check it out. It's very gothic and eerie, but so well made. Speaking of Gary Oldman, coming in at number 11 is going to be Norman Stansfield from Leon the Professional. In this movie, he plays a corrupt cop who murders Natalie Portman's entire family, including her younger brother. It's just like, holy shit, this guy is evil right off the bat. Like, first scene, he's killing a kid and these innocent people, and you're just like, this guy is a piece of shit. And then you get the amazing performance by Gary Oldman. He is so over the top in this movie, and you can tell like the character is supposed to be all coked up on drugs and whatever, and he plays it so well. Really makes you hate this character, but goddamn, you can't take your eyes off him in this movie. All right, halfway through the list, and at number 10 is going to be Castor Troy from Face Off. Want to take his face off. Goddamn, Nicolas Cage is so entertaining as the villain in this movie. Nicolas Cage is so over the top in pretty much all of his performances, but this one especially, like the whole "I can eat a peach for hours." Oh, he's got so many quotable lines. He's so gross. What a gross character. But it's Nicolas Cage, so you can't kind of help but love him in a way. And then it's actually an amazing performance because he has to pretty much play two different characters in a way. But what a despicable piece of shit. He's having so much fun in this movie. One of the more entertaining villains of all time. Speaking of pieces of shit, coming in at number 9 is Jimmy Shaker from Ransom. One of the more underrated villains from the 90s, easily. Gary Sinise knocks this performance out of the park. He's so good in this movie. Really, really makes you hate this character. At the beginning of the movie, kidnaps this kid and holds him for ransom for millions of dollars. And the shit that this guy does in this movie is so despicable. First of all, he is, like I said, a corrupt cop who is holding this kid ransom with all of his accomplices. He's got like a group of 3 or 4 other accomplices. And since he's a cop, he kind of feels like he's entailed to all this power, especially over his group of criminals, and makes them do things that they don't want to. And he's like ready to kill like this kid by the end of the movie. Such a despicable human being, and So creepy, but goddamn, he's a great villain. Coming in at number 8 is one of the more underrated horror movie villains of all time, and that is the Wishmaster. These are pretty underseen movies. Definitely check at least the first one out. The second one's not too bad, but this is one of the more, like I said, multiple times in this video. This is one of the more entertaining villains of all time. It's pretty much he's a jinn, a genie that grants you 3 wishes, and after the third wish, he pretty much gets your soul. And he needs like all these pretty much souls to have his ultimate power or whatever. And every wish he grants, he twists it in a way. So you could be like, oh, I want $1,000,000, but instead of dollar or like cash, he's gonna like fucking send you $1,000,000 like bucks, like deer. Or it's just he just fucking twists people's words in the weirdest way possible. It is some of the deaths are so entertaining and over the top. And Andrew Divoff, who plays the djinn in these movies, the Wishmaster, is so goddamn entertaining. It's kind of got this creepy, gross design. He kind of looks like an alien in a way, but he's having a lot of fun and one of the more entertaining horror movie villains of all time. At least check out the first Wishmaster. It's a lot of fun. Not a great movie, but like I said, a lot of fun. Coming in at number 7 is going to be Catherine Trammell from Basic Instinct. An iconic performance by Sharon Stone in this movie. Probably should have at least been nominated for an Oscar. She is so seductive, but so mysterious in this movie. Like she is, you along with the detectives in this movie are like drawn to her, but you also don't know if you can trust her as a character because she doesn't give you a lot of her personality or anything. You're just like, is she the killer? Is she not? You kind of don't want her to be, but you're also like, I don't trust this lady at all. She is definitely the killer. An amazing performance. One of the best female villains of all time. Coming in at number 6 is probably the best female villain of all time, and that is Annie Wilkes from Misery, based off the Stephen King novel. You got author played by James Caan, who gets into a car wreck, and he is rescued by Annie Wilkes, played by Kathy Bates. Sorry, forgot her name for a second there. But he's rescued by Kathy Bates, who pretty much nurses him back to health. And it turns out that this lady is pretty much this guy's biggest fan. And also turns out that this lady is a complete psychopath. Once she finds out that the author, James Caan, in his new book, kills off the main character in this new book, she loses her shit on this guy. And if you guys have seen the movie, the hobbling scene is one of the grossest things I've ever seen in a movie. It's so, like, I don't get grossed out by, like, body horror and stuff that often. And you don't really even see any, like, gore or anything, but just the hobbling scene. Just watch that scene and you will see how fucked up this lady is. But an amazing performance by Kathy Bates. Won her an Oscar, deservedly so. She is so good in this movie. I also love the way that she's like completely manic. She is crazy, but she also like doesn't like swearing. She doesn't like rudeness. That's what she like. Like she instead of swearing, she'll be like, "Oh, cock-a-doodie," and you're like, "This was a weird character," but she is an amazing villain, and I love her. Coming in at number 5 is the T-1000 from Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Now, this character and Robert Patrick had a nearly impossible task of pretty much building off of the Terminator and being more menacing than that villain was in the first movie. And I kind of think he did it in a way. He's different enough. First of all, he's liquid metal, so he could transform his body pretty much into whatever he wants. He could be a floor, he could be a chair, he could fucking do whatever he wants. But like Robert Patrick is not nearly as big as Arnold Schwarzenegger. So you're like, this guy doesn't seem that menacing. But then once he starts transforming into different objects, and especially once he starts running after you, you are like, oh fuck. The heroes in this movie have no chance at all. How are they going to stop this guy? And he is just such an iconic villain in this movie. The battles he has with Sarah Connor and the T-800, it's like so entertaining. And Robert Patrick played, like, it's an underrated performance because he has to be so menacing, but he's also kind of likable. Like when he's going to ask questions about like where John is and stuff, you're kind of like, this guy's like kind of funny. But I love T-1000, easily one of the best villains of all time. Coming in at number 4 is probably the most famous Disney villain of all time, and that is Scar from The Lion King. An amazing, iconic performance by Jeremy Irons. That just creepy ass voice he has. It's so slimy. It's gross character. So despicable. I mean, fuck, he kills his brother and then blames it on his nephew. Makes his nephew think that he killed his dad. Like, how fucked up is that? Oh my god, Scar, you're a piece of shit. And then he's so weaselly at the end too. Like when he tries to blame the hyenas for everything. Like, fuck you, Scar. But goddamn, such an entertaining character. And I kind of don't get why he was a villain. Like, dude, your brother is king. Like, you should have everything made for you. Like, you're fine. But nope, just couldn't help himself. He had to be a piece of shit. And you know what? He got eaten for it. So good on you. All right, these top 3 were very difficult to decide which should be in the top spot. Any day of the week, these could all be number 1. But coming in at number 3 is going to be Little Bill from Unforgiven. One of the best performances of all time. I love Gene Hackman in this movie. He's pretty much the sheriff of this town called Big Whiskey. And he has a big control over this town. So much control. Pretty much his only rule is no guns, no assassins. He kind of just wants to keep the town without any drama. All he wants to do is go build his house pretty much. And it's not until this prostitute gets cut up by a cowboy, and the way that Little Bill goes about the consequence isn't in the right way. You know, like the ends don't justify the means. You know, like Little Bill this cowboy should definitely get a bigger punishment than what he gets. And so the rest of the prostitutes pretty much send out like a bounty on these cowboys saying like, hey, we'll pay you $1,000 to kill these guys. And Little Bill does not want assassins in his town. So in a way, you could kind of twist this movie into Little Bill is actually the hero of his own story, and that Willie Money is the villain. And the movie also kind of plays it that way. Like, Willie Money is not a good person, and you don't know who's a better person, Little Bill or, Will Money. But towards the end, especially when he starts, whipping Morgan Freeman's character, you're like, oh, this guy's got to go. He's got to be put down like the dog he is, the mangy mutt. But goddamn, it's so hard to hate this guy because he's played by Gene Hackman. I love Little Bill in this movie. It's easily one of my favorite movie villains of all time. All right, coming in at number 2, I actually got 2 villains from this movie. That is Hannibal Lecter and Buffalo Bill. In a way, Hannibal Lecter, I don't really know if he's like an actual villain in the movie. Like, he doesn't do anything bad to our protagonist. He actually kind of helps her find Buffalo Bill in a way. In a way, Buffalo Bill is the true villain of this movie. Like, Hannibal Lecter pretty much kills people we don't like in this movie. Yeah, he's a cannibal, but he's also kind of likable. Like, he just doesn't like rude people. That's all Hannibal Lecter wants. He just doesn't like rude people. So in a way, you kind of like him. Buffalo Bill, in a way, though, one of the creepiest movie villains of all time. Captures women, skins them, like makes them into furniture. Oh, it's like so goddamn creepy. But Ted Levine does an excellent job. Some of the most iconic scenes of all time, like it places the lotion in the basket. Oh my god, Buffalo Bill is like, I don't get creeped out that much in movies, but Buffalo Bill, like, one of the creepiest villains of all time. Oh, so Hannibal Lecter and Buffalo Bill, like having 2 iconic villains in your movie, like, goddamn, what a feat. Good job. But coming in at number 1, I got John Doe from Seven. It's actually Kevin Spacey's, second performance on this list? So that's pretty cool. But goddamn, probably the most shocking villain reveal of all time. He actually doesn't get caught by the cops in this movie. He reveals himself, like he turns himself into the cops, which I kind of forgot about. But that scene is so iconic. He's not introduced until 30 minutes left in the movie maybe as the villain. So it's super shocking that it's Kevin Spacey. And then you're just like, he's just like covered in blood. And you're like, oh, what the fuck? This guy is fucking messed up. And I didn't realize it until a couple watches in that the blood on him when he turns himself in is actually Tracy Mills' blood, the Gwyneth Paltrow's blood. So I totally, like, it didn't even click for me first couple watches for me on that. But another reason why he's at number 1 at the top of this list, he actually wins. Like, yeah, he gets killed at the end, but his whole plan, this master plan, he wins. He gets Brad Pitt to kill him and become Wrath, pretty much. And the way he says, like, people are going to be studying me and this plan for hundreds of years. And you're like, yeah, in a way, you are right. Like, everything he says in this movie, you're like, you got a point. Like, you are one sick son of a bitch. You know, he fucking decapitates a pregnant lady. Like, goddamn. So creepy, but a fucking fantastic villain in this movie. Oh my god. One of the best villains of all time. I know I'm saying that a lot, but goddamn, the 90s was a great decade for villains. So, John Doe from 7 coming in at number 1. Sorry if I ruined any of these villain reveals for you. Well guys, that is it for this video. My top 20 villains from the 90s. Holy shit, a lot of great villains on this list. I'm pretty sure of the 2000s and the 2010s I only got top 10. So this is the only top 20 list that I'm going to have for this series. But please share down below what you guys would have for some iconic villains from the 90s. Let me know if I missed any. I mean, I got 26 of them on this list, so if I missed any, I'm sorry. But my throat is pretty much dying from talking so much, so I'm gonna go edit this video and drink a lot of water as well. But as always guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, share, and comment below if you haven't, and also subscribe to the channel for more videos. And until the next video when I count down the top 10 villains from the 2000s, see you next time.